The first thing I would say is, I'm absolutely in agreement. It is very difficult. And what I'm saying, not, you are somehow stupid for not being able to find a job. It's not your fault. For a large number of people, that just simply does not exist. There are two things that I would say. One is, creativity is something you can turn to. And I would say what's most important is possibility thinking rather than probability thinking. So, most people in the world say, well, what's the chances that I'm going to get a job again? They look at the probability of it. The problem with that is that if you look at the definition of an exceptional life, let's say I asked you, Marina, would you like an exceptional life? Most people would say, sure, that'll be nice. And if I said, well, by definition, an exception is low probability. But it's not a high probability event. It exists outside the bell curve, the main part of the bell curve. So rather than at high probability, we want to look at high possibility. Because the brain is wired so that if you tell it that something is possible, even if you can't figure out consciously how, it has mechanisms to work this out under the radar. But if you are jobless and you say, oh, forget about it, there's no jobs available, I can't do this. Your brain says, thank you, good night, I'm going to sleep. You don't worry about this, it's impossible. But if you tell your brain, look, I want a job, but I really can't even imagine how. Nobody's hiring. The jobs that exist I don't like. What am I going to do? Your brain will say, oh, okay. So you don't know how consciously. But your brain has a GPS system, a navigator. And it will turn on that navigator, and you can punch in data to the brain's navigator, so the navigator can take you where you want to go. And if you doubt this, then ask yourself, of all the jobless people in the world, do you think any jobless person has found a job in a difficult economic environment? And you would say, sure, there are some people who... Well, what is that doing that you are not doing? Oh, they have a contact, they knew this person in the company, and they knew... Not everybody has contacts. There are many jobless people who do not have contacts. But you have to ask yourself, well, it's probably true that the majority of people who are jobless or struck down do not have the opportunities they need. But we need to look at the exceptions. We need to say, in this group of people, an example of even one person who has been able to get a job. And if you look at that, we base our thinking on the exceptions. And we say, what did that person... And I can tell you, I've talked to many people like this. Those people keep the line open about the possibility of getting a job. And also, they don't necessarily question what they're capable of. They actually say, oh, it's not that, like say, some people will say, for example, oh, that's not a job I want to do. I'm much more highly qualified than that. Whereas another person will say, I am much more highly qualified than that, but I just need to get my foot in so I can work my way up again. Mm-hmm. That's the between those. One person will say, oh, that's beneath me. Another person will say, I'm so angry that I have to do something that's beneath me, that I'm going to motivate myself to get to the top even faster than before. So the difference between the two people is that one group of people is seeing it as a possibility and rising up. And I want to emphasize, this is not easy. Not that you can pick your fingers and all of a sudden you should go there. I'm not understating or undermining the difficulty of the task. It is difficult. But the question you need to ask yourself is it worth it? If I said to you, your child was out at sea, and your child looked like they were drowning, would you stand at the edge and say, well, it's too difficult, I'll just watch them drown? Or would you do everything that you could, scream for a lifeguard, go out yourself, scream out to them? You'll do everything that you could in that position. So when situations are difficult, this seems crazy, but our brains always recognize how important it is for us to take on that challenge. How important it is for us to even believe. And so I think that for people who are in this difficult position, it is difficult. But ask yourself, just because it's difficult, does that mean that you shouldn't try?